From Nutrien Ag Solutions, this is Senior Meteorologist Andrew Pritchard with your Canadian Prairie weather story for Monday, August 8th, 2022. Staring at a pretty quiet week across the prairie, so I'll try and keep it pretty simple here and maybe a little bit on the briefer side with this week update. Temperatures right now, 18 degrees in Edmonton here early this morning. We're going to see some heat across portions of southern Alberta, southwest Saskatchewan here today. We'll see a front move through over the next 24 hours, but then heat kind of returns as we head into mid to late week, leaning heat and dryness over the next 7 days across much of the prairie. We'll go ahead and dive in, and you can see, the reason for that as we get started here this morning. Looking at the satellite picture, a lot of quietness across the region, or I should say a void of interesting weather. We've got a storm system making its way across northern portions of the prairie provinces right now. Some showers across northern Alberta and Saskatchewan this morning. That'll continue off to the east as we head through the rest of the day. We've got a frontal boundary kind of stalled here across portions of the central U.S. with all sorts of shower and thunderstorm activity along it. And it's behind this system right here. We'll be pretty quiet as we head through again the next several days, if not through the rest of the week in a lot of locations. Now the radar picture here this morning, again, a few showers north of Highway 16, Edmonton over toward, again, Meadow Lake, a little bit north of Saskatoon. This activity continues mostly off to the east today, so leaving us dry across the prairie as we head through the next 24 hours. The NAM model will take us through Thursday afternoon. Go ahead and put this in motion. You see today's rain get out of here, not a lot behind it. We'll go ahead and we'll look at that a little bit slower here. There we go. So here's the Monday morning showers off to the north, and those continue east through the next 24 hours. This is what it looks like overnight, and then here's as we get into sunrise on Tuesday morning. Beautiful clear conditions across the majority of the prairie, just a few showers across far northern Alberta, or northern Manitoba, well north of the prairie. So here we go through the day Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, getting into midday Wednesday night, and then into Thursday, we'll see a subtle disturbance start to lift into the area. You could bring in some isolated, maybe widely scattered thunderstorms as we get into Thursday, but still keeping most areas on the dry side. The reason for this, we'll put the jet stream in motion over the next 10 days. I'll just let this play first, and then we'll talk about what's going on as we look across North America. A bit of a difference here compared to what we've got this week compared to weeks past. Over the last several weeks, we've been seeing a persistent trough right in this region with very strong jet stream flow coming across the Pacific, sending storm systems into the prairie. We're really losing that this week. The jet stream is, I wouldn't call it split, but I would call it really disorganized. We've got a trough sitting here down off the Pacific coast. We've got a couple little systems here off to the north, but we're really lacking that consolidated jet stream bringing in storm systems and that upper level support for organized precipitation through a lot of the week. So this is as we get into Wednesday, into midweek, we have that subtle little disturbance, brings it maybe a couple of isolated, maybe widely scattered thunderstorms over the top of the ridge, which is centered here over the central or west central United States here as we get into mid to late week. And then into the weekend, early next week, this trough off the Pacific coast, the European wants to maybe start bringing in a little upper level support from that, and then perhaps using this trough back across the Pacific to kick it over the prairie as we get into the weekend. But at this point, we're talking 7 days out into the future, a little bit of a complex interaction here, even though it's rather disorganized. That disorganized nature makes it pretty hard to predict here how exactly this is going to shake out. So what I can tell you confidently is that for the next 6-7 days, jet stream support pretty disorganized, not likely to be talking about much in the way of organized precipitation. The potential wild card here shows up in the weekend into early next week, so maybe reintroducing some showers and storms in the day 7 to 10 time frame, but low confidence in how that's all going to shake out. So here's your precipitation forecast then. We'll put this in motion. We'll go ahead and kind of just step through time. Again, here's your shower activity across northern portions of the prairie provinces here over the next 24 hours. That gets out of here by Tuesday night. Here's Tuesday night. This is Wednesday. High pressure over the prairie right now in the wake of that storm system. So clear conditions here Tuesday and Wednesday. Again, maybe some very widely scattered showers and storms across, far southern Alberta, southern Saskatchewan Wednesday night into Thursday morning. And then as we get into the weekend, you can see this low off to the north, like way to the north, over near the Arctic, with this front extending south from there. This is when we'll maybe start to reintroduce some shower and storm activity. We bring this frontal boundary in here. The European wants to kick off scattered storms ahead of that as we get into Friday evening. And then the low across the Pacific starts to make its way in here and kind of ride along that frontal boundary as the European model advertises it check the date again. Now we're all the way into Monday and Tuesday. So if I just kind of bring this back and rock back and forth, you see here's your Monday night precipitation north of the Prairie. Quiet Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe something here near the U.S. border Wednesday, Thursday, but it's not till we get into the weekend, August 11, 12, 13, 14, that we start to talk about anything, even remotely organized as far as precipitation goes. So really, a quiet, dry week expected across the Prairie. The European operational model here, the next 3 days of precipitation here on the right, and then this would be days 4 through 7. Again, dry across the Prairie over the next 3 days. It's Wednesday into Thursday, maybe something down here near the U.S. border. And then as we get into the weekend, early next week, very isolated, maybe widely scattered shower and storm activity returning. We'll look at the ensemble model here, the week 1 and then week 2 precipitation anomaly forecast. Not much change here as you get into next week. This would be August 16th through the 23rd. Very low confidence in what the pattern exactly is going to look like, and that is very typical this time of year. As we get toward, the back end of summer, we're starting to talk about entering another transitional period. The models are really going to struggle with how this all shakes out over the next several weeks. But what we see is we kind of just loop the jet stream forecast here from the ensemble model over the next 2 weeks. Again, what was keeping it active across the Prairie for the majority of the summer? Let's go ahead and just get to, here's August 18th. Just, for example, It was troughing. It was that trough right here, those strong jet stream winds coming around the base of that trough, blasting into the Prairie, sending storm systems into the region. And again, frequent severe weather, active weather with big areas of heavy rainfall. We're seeing pretty much the opposite of that, some subtle ridging across the region here as we get into week 2, and that is going to, again, just kind of keep a lid on real organized precipitation. Maybe not completely dry, but as we head through the next 1 to 2 weeks, kind of the days of every few days severe weather events, supercells, tornadoes, large hail, localized flooding rains, probably peeling that back over the next week or 2. Another way to look at this, precipitable water, the amount of moisture within the atmosphere, we can loop this. We'll go ahead and bring it back here. This is, as we get started here this Monday morning, all of the real deep moisture down here across the central United States. Remember I showed you that frontal boundary that kind of cuts right across this region. Showers and storms there along that dividing line. Just a little bit of moisture here for that system off to the north to work with. And then again, as we head through the majority of the week, we're pretty dry. See a little surge of moisture come here with that Wednesday night and Thursday system that could bring some showers and storms to far southern portions of the Prairie. And then we see the next low start to make its way in. Look at that right here over the weekend. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, you see it come in here and interact with the moisture in place. So that's when we could maybe see more in the way of organized rainfall 7 days out there into the future. Now, the lack of storms will be made up with the heat. That'll be maybe what we have to talk about here over the next week or so. Those high temperatures climbing into the low to middle 30s this afternoon across portions of southern Alberta, getting into southwestern and south central Saskatchewan. We'll put this in motion over the next few days. We see a couple of fronts make their way through. One, of course, making its way through today. We'll see those high temperatures a bit cooler tomorrow in the mid to upper 20s. Starting to climb back up, though. The heat returns as we get into mid to late week. You see those afternoon high temperatures climbing back into the mid 30s by the time we get to Thursday afternoon. Friday and Saturday looking quite hot late this week across the Prairie, especially across portions of Alberta and Saskatchewan. Here's your next 10 days in Calgary. Again, that front moves through today, but climbing back up to a high temperature in the low 30s as we get into late week and the weekend. Edmonton, a very similar look here is Saskatoon. Again, 31 today, cooling off to 24 tomorrow, 31 on Thursday. Regina, very similar. Hot today, a little cooler tomorrow, hot again by the end of the week. Winnipeg, very similar again. Hot today, hot again later on this week. Not much to speak about in the way of organized showers and storms across the entire Prairie again, until we get to maybe next weekend into early next week.